Can I start with any other business? After
Please.
our Oscars chat, and my main contribution was working out if more people from Casualty had been nominated for an Oscar than from The Bill. Stuart Ian Burns has written in and said, "Thank you so much for crunching the numbers on The Bill and Casualty's Oscar alumni." I love crunch. I really genuinely love crunching numbers.
But people loved it.
But I love
so
crunching
actually, that's
numbers.
what people...
Stuart has crunched the numbers of his own. Can I point you in the direction of another BBC stalwart, Doctor Who, which has 15 acting nominations?
Oh my gosh.
Andrew Garfield, Kerry Mulligan, Daniel Kaluuya again, who has been in all three of these.
The centre of our van.
He is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Eric Roberts. I was thinking, and of course he was nominated for Runaway Train, wasn't he? Way back when, Best Supporting Actor. Felicity Jones, Ian McKellen, Imelda Staunton, Jim Broadbent, John Cleese, John Hurt, Olivia Colman, Pauline Collins, Richard E. Grant, Sophie Okonedo, and Mare Winningham, all nominated for Oscars. I will say this, Stuart Ian Burns, if I may call you that. Some of those people were in Doctor Who after they were Oscar nominated because Doctor Who is a very, very big franchise, and nothing against Casualty and The Bill, but it's harder for them to get Oscar nominated actors in them. So absolutely it takes the crown, but I think it has a little asterisk next to that crown.
Agreed. I think it has to be the stepping stone.
Yes, but
and actually, I don't want to denigrate the shows at all, but it has to be an early part of the CV.
Because it's about the skill of a casting director, which is spotting. It's like if you go back and watch Prime Suspect, and every kind of minor character, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
I was watching one the other day, and there's a 14-year-old Danny Dyer in it. Just every time it's someone where you go, like a young Peter Capaldi, stuff like that. So it's about the skill of the casting director. But Stuart, thank you for crunching numbers as well and keeping me company. And anyone out there who ever wants to crunch any numbers and send me any sort of list, I will, honestly, that is grist to my mill.
The Rest is Entertainment is presented by Octopus Energy. Now, remember, Octopus Energy do something really great. If they've got your birthday, when you call in for whatever reason to Octopus, the Holes music is the #1 selling single from that year, the year of your 14th birthday.
And we discovered, didn't we, that yours was The Only Way Is Up by Yaz and the Plastic Population. We're going to discover mine now. Yours
is I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Yes.
Listen, I prefer yours.
Yeah.
Do you think it's weird to have hold music, which is I Just Called to Say I Love You? Because, listen, and you know that I love Octopus Energy, but I will rarely ring them to tell them I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would usually, but I just want to chat to them about something to do with my energy. And I don't mean that sort of energy.
Well, look, they can but surface the #1 single of that year for you. And you can always choose not to have the music. You can choose but I think only animals do that, as I've said. And I want to go on the record as saying that.
Shall we start with a question about Buffy?
There's so many questions about Buffy. Yes.
Yeah. So Jen is asking this. I saw that Hulu has decided not to take up the highly anticipated Buffy reboot. It seems a strange decision given the appetite from the fandom and with both Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chloe Zhao involved. How did they arrive at this decision? It
is genuinely remarkable, this, because it got so far. This is the beloved series starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, which ran for 7 seasons between, I think, 1997 and 2003. That would have been 2 seasons these days. But anyway, created by Joss Whedon, who is now in the league of sort of semi-cancelled gentlemen. So he is no longer part of this. But it was going to be at Hulu, Disney Plus for our purposes. It was called Buffy New Sunnydale. They had, a sort of great recipe in lots of ways. The showrunners were the sisters, Nora and Lila Zuckerman, who are brilliant, who are the showrunners on Poker Face, who've also worked on lots of other sort of big TV things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. The pilot was directed by Chloe Zhao.
The director of Hamnet and Oscar winner and all
Nomadland and all these things. Yeah.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar was heavily involved.
Yeah, she's executive producing. She didn't appear. She appeared a tiny amount, actually, in the pilot as short, which to me makes sense. Like, she's in right at the very end and maybe she just has one line. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and it's the next generation, but she is showing that it's okay.
Okay, yeah. So it felt like it has the blessing and the bloodline, if you can say that, in a vampire show.
So Sarah Michelle Gellar's on board. You've got an Oscar-winning director. You've got 2 great showrunners.
Okay, so
and it's beloved. It's a beloved piece of IP. You would think it was the biggest shoe-in Hollywood history.
Yeah, they've pulled the plug on it remarkably late, and it's absolutely shocking to everyone involved in it. what they have sort of leaked, that the problem is that they said it was small in scope, it's more suited to network TV. You know, they
sort of said
it's bad. Yeah, they said it's bad.
So rare
I think what they might mean is, you know, it's costing us a fortune. There's only going to be a few episodes of it. And with these particular heavyweights involved, it took them too long to say no. But I thought I would lay out, because I think it's quite interesting if you don't know this, how something gets to even a pilot being made. Yeah. And so what are the stages that it had to get through to get to this point, which is, and it might, you know, throw into even sharper relief how late this is to cancel. Yeah. Okay. I don't know exactly how they did this one, but this would be a typical pathway. So you shop a pilot or a commission, you say, I've got an idea. But in this case, it's this beloved IP related. So they will have had millions of people for a long, long time pitching, saying, I'm interested, even like big names that you've heard of, coming to them, why now, modern takes, etc., etc.
Yeah, so anyway. So if it's not Buffy and you are someone with a name and with an agent, you have your idea, you will do a deck on that idea of what it might be. You will then shop that round various of the streamers.
And they
say yes or no. In this particular instance, you have got some real heavyweights. It's almost like they are desperate to have the meeting with you rather than the other way around.
So many people have said to them, I have a really great Buffy pitch if you're ever interested at the Oscars.
Yes. Usually you are trying to sell to a streamer with something like Buffy, and with the people involved, the streamer's trying to sell to you, which is, yes, we want this with us. What can we do for you?
Yeah. Anyway, they got a pilot script, and Nora and Lila Zuckerman wrote it, and Chloe Zhao was on board, and they all developed it together. There will, at this stage, when you have a pilot script, there'll be masses of toing and froing and redrafts. There will be many redrafts of the pilot script. You know, why now? What's new about this? Why should we do that? You know, what's the kind of...
What's Hulu about it?
Yeah, exactly. All of that stuff.
Remind me of what Hulu is again.
Yeah, it's basically, exactly.
Because I remember last week you said it was this, and now you seem to have changed your mind. But anyway, of course we're going to change it. I mean, I've literally just won an Oscar, but of course.
If they go for it and they say they're going to make a pilot, then it's all the way back to the drawing board again, because then they will have had a writer's room with lots and lots of writers. Then you would have had world building. You would have said, who are actually the characters? Do we like what we've done with the script? Maybe not. Then you would map out the season, everybody's arcs, the whole thing, how it all ends, right?
That's the important thing, is if you are doing a pilot, almost always alongside a pilot, you would also be doing a series Bible,
an outline,
which is, listen, not anyone can make an amazing pilot, but you can make an amazing storyline across an hour. You have to then go, oh, by the way, here are the next 7, 8, 12 hours. This is the arc.
Yeah, and it ends here. And by the way, of course, you're going to get another 6 seasons out of us.
And those Bibles are incredibly detailed, and you'll often spend much more time on the Bible than you would on the actual script.
Absolutely. And so they will have done that. Then they will have said, okay, we're ordering the pilot. So they will shoot the pilot, and then maybe they will say, okay, in conjunction with that, we'd like to do a script order, not an episode order for the rest of the season. So then all the scripts for the rest of the season will be worked out, or they'll be at a certain draft stage, and you'll have to go back to the writer's room for all of that.
If, by the way, this sounds like a pain in the arse, you are absolutely right.
Oh my God, it takes a long time.
It's like it's so awful.
And by the way, in America, with American money, at this point, millions has already been spent on this thing, and it will have been already on this Buffy thing.
And more to the point, an awful lot of opinions have been put in.
So many opinions. Now, Variety have got the draft of the shooting script, so what was actually shot. No one has actually seen the pilot, apart from the people who have seen it. It hasn't leaked.
Apart from the people
and they did it last summer. Hulu's sources were saying things like it's unsalvageable, it's undershot, there's no exposition, there's no coverage, it's underdirected. I mean, this is a mega drive-by on Chloe Zhao. Buffy's just at the end, they did a rewrite even after that, saying, okay, we could reshoot. There could be more actual original Buffy in it of Sarah Michelle Gellar, and there's an acknowledgement always they'd made it quite young that the fandom has aged now, so perhaps we could have something a bit more for the age group of the fandom. Sarah Michelle Gellar has come out completely swinging and said there's an executive at Hulu who wasn't even familiar with the original, said he'd never watched it all the way through, didn't even care. She's named him or confirmed that it's him.
Like Craig Erwich, right?
I mean, he'll be having some death threats against him right now, let me tell you.
But you know the thing with Craig Erwich, right? Yeah. Who was at Hulu, and so this is made by 20th Century Television. They pitched to Hulu. Craig Erwich says, do you know what? I'm not a Buffy fan. This is not for me. By the way, it happens sometimes. The exec is not the right person.
Yeah.
What you do then is you go, well, look, it's still Buffy, so we come back as 20th century television, we take this elsewhere. However, Craig Erwich has just left Hulu and has a new job as the head of 20th century television. So the guy who just said no to it is now in charge of, should we take this elsewhere?
Yeah.
That's bad timing.
It's really bad timing, and it's really hard, and it's got so, I mean, as I say, it's got so messy. It's interesting now because you've always had this in science fiction, but you've got 90s IP is absolutely massive because we live in a reboot world. And so you've got lots of people who were fans of the original thing when they were young and teenagers, like, I don't know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge doing Tomb Raider or Chloe Zhao doing this. And you've always had this in science fiction, lots of Star Trek people came through, and lots of, J.J. Abrams did the first reboots of Star Wars. So it's difficult. You have got people who are huge names who are suddenly like, oh, well, I would, I want to do Buffy.
Well, if you can imagine the amount of projects that Chloe Zhao was offered after winning the Oscar. I mean, the world would have been her oyster, and she's just done Hamnet. So, everyone wants her to do stuff.
Well, maybe she should. I mean, it's
and she's
difficult.
suddenly going, no, the thing I want to do, because it's really meaningful to me, the thing I want to do is Buffy.
Well, she wanted to do a Marvel film as well, and she had an absolute nightmare on that. I wonder whether these properties are totally suited to these kinds of directors. But anyhow, it's quite difficult to see what will happen now, because she was obviously very, in terms of like, are we going to get another one? It's hard to see how, because Sarah Michelle Gellar was so aligned with this and was so part of it all. She might be persuaded, if you're really clever, to go with somebody else, but that is a big talent management job after this now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a big blow up. It's quite difficult to see, and I think you do need her involved.
Yes.
You're dealing also with very, very difficult fandoms, and they know that from the start. They don't want to put something out that will enrage the fandoms. It really helps if Sarah Michelle Gellar is involved. In fact, you definitely need it because it's an obsessive fandom. But I don't know. I think this is a big blowout, and it should never have got as far as it has. And obviously, they've annoyed lots of great talent.
Yeah, and
Zuckerman's, lots of them.
And one of the things about it is, the new economics of television, and things do have to get cheaper and cheaper. And they say that the budget for this pilot was about 17 million, and that the per hour cost of the series would not be far off that as well. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, you could have got away with it. You can't get away with it now. I mean, now you can get away with 9 million, which still is absurd, but 17 million was a lot. And yeah, you get it. Maybe they left it to the last minute because there were so many powerful people involved, and it felt like such a slam dunk.
I think they did. I think it's hard.
That they were like, well, surely we can't say no. And how do we say no? Who's going to say no to Chloe? Who's going to tell Sarah? And so maybe they sort of chickened out of saying no to it until the very, very last minute. I think they did it like 2 days before the Oscars, and they said, poor Chloe Zhao, she just had this news just before the Oscars. You're like, she's all right, she's at the Oscars.
Yeah.
She don't mind.
I think it'll be one of those ones that goes on the back burner for a long time now, unless they manage to do an unbelievable salvage job with Sarah Michelle Gellar, which...
They'll make it one day. I think that lots of the publicity around it also shows that people really want this reboot to happen. So, there'll be a way. Craig Erwich just needs to take Sarah Michelle Gellar to lunch. Just some détente needed.
Well, anyway, that Buffy stuff is interesting, so we'll be carrying on to see how that story develops. But Richard, I have a question for you. From JP Jones, he says, hello both. I read that the original film of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca was so popular in Spain that the particular cardigans worn by the unnamed heroine are still called Rebecca's there today. Are there other examples where Hollywood or British films left that kind of mark on everyday life or language in another country?
Thank you, JP. I had not heard that, but yeah, I've looked into it. And cardigans in Spain are called Rebecca's. And it is absolutely because of that. Films absolutely leave their mark culturally all the time. We talked before about, the mafia just talk like everyone talks like in Godfather. But my favourite ones, I think, are... So paparazzi, we know paparazzi very, very well. And that comes from a character in La Dolce Vita who was a press photographer, and his name was Paparazzo. And so we call them the paparazzi. And it literally just comes from that one character in that one film, and that's a lovely one. I think Bucket List, which comes from the film The Bucket List. The Bucket List was not named after the fact that everyone had bucket lists. It was just called a bucket list, and now we call those things a bucket list. This is the Morgan Freeman, Jack Nicholson movie from 2007. But my favourite one, very, very well known now, but it comes from a 1944 film. It's about a man who psychologically drives his wife insane, lies to her, bends reality so she has a nervous breakdown. And that film is called Gaslight. That's the best one of all, isn't it?
Strangely sort of fallen completely out of use, and then in this political era became a massive word that's used almost all the time.
Imagine if people now went to look that up and it didn't exist. Oh man, they'd be furious with me. The whole thing based on a Patrick Hamilton play, but the movie is where that term came into being. So Paparazzi, Bucket List, and Gaslight would be my three favourites, but I'm going to add Rebecca to that as well. Rebecca, that's a great fact, isn't it? Rebecca's cardigans. Sophie says, Dermoir are reporting that Zendaya and Tom Holland have tied the knot in secret without any photos leaking. How is that even possible with such high-profile names?
Well, I think they definitely have got married. And
that's nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And it's sort of been confirmed hilariously by the only person who actually opened his big mouth is Law Roach, who is Zendaya's stylist. And he accidentally confirmed it all. Having said that, I mean, she looks incredible at all times. She simply can't lose him over this.
Yes, yeah,
he's
exactly.
just too good. He's too good.
He's got too much in the bank.
But you can keep these things small and secretive, and many have. Brad and Angelina did it. Beyonce and Jay-Z, Margot Robbie and Tom Ackley, Rachel Weisz, Daniel Craig. I mean, lots of people do it. That you can either do it like you're doing it at home or on your vineyard that you're now fighting about in the divorce, in the case of Brad and Angelina, or you can do it, in an apartment. The English countryside's quite a popular one, Cumberbatch did that. But you take people's phones, you do NDAs, or I would have thought they kept it very small, to be perfectly honest. But it's quite interesting. When I think of all of these things, I do think that there is a big divide opening up because we live in an influencer culture and we live in a culture where there's a whole new massive middle class of so-called celebrities who are really influencers, who are always on and they are always sharing everything about their lives. And it's almost as if stars have worked out that the one thing that they have, the clever ones, even someone like Timothée Chalamet, who, if you're telling me that guy isn't so online, I can't believe it. That guy is extremely online. And yet he managed to keep his relationship with Kylie Jenner effectively secret for about 2 years. So it's interesting. There is a divide opening up between people like Zendaya and Tom Holland and Timothée Chalamet and people like that who still think that, okay, the one thing I can have because I simply can't be always on in the same way because it just, denudes my work of all value is that I can have an air of mystery and I can be secretive and the not knowing can be the always on part. And it's quite interesting. And I definitely see that we're opening up because you're dealing with otherwise just this entire trying to put blue water between yourself and people who are just a completely different kind of celebrity. So I find it quite interesting that people are still being secretive and trying to say that secrecy and privacy is a prestige quality.
Well, we spoke the other day, didn't we, when we talked about Harry and Meghan, about how actually they don't have any actual transferable skills. What they're selling is themselves. Whereas if you're Tom Holland and Zendaya, you don't need to sell who you are because you can just go and do a film. To make your money. And so most people, if they got married who are influencers, they're like, oh my God, this is one of the big ones for us.
Yeah.
We absolutely have to just hammer this and we have to make as much money as we possibly can. Whereas those two, literally, they can just go and do another movie so they can keep that that privacy.
Yeah. And they want to because they realize the whole class of them think it's a USP in a world of sort of vanishing ideas of stardom. This is something that it remains something. The not knowing is the prestige quality.
But also, it's not even that, is it? It's psychologically, it's important to them to have something that is just them when they're so in the public eye. To have something where they just go, no, this is just us, and the normality of that must be lovely. Oh, good for them.
Congrats
so nice,
to Zendaya and Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Big fans of both.
Huge fan of The Rest is History. Love it.
We've got so many variations of this question that can I just ask it, coming from me as well. Is Richard Osman's House of Games now going to be called Michael Sheen's House of Games?
Well, yes, because so we haven't spoken about it at all, have we? Since that announcement was made, I think it took some people by surprise.
Coming at you right out of left field.
Coming out of left field. I mean, it's sort of left field, but then at the same time, you kind of get it because Michael has always done quizzes.
Yeah.
He's always done that, and he's doing such an incredible amount of work with the National Theatre of Wales now and really launching that. So, he's having a year of theatre and giving back to his community. So I imagine had a little bit of time where he could do something interesting and something that's close to his heart, and this is it. And he's so personable, likes quizzing, likes human beings, had a bit of free time. So it sort of makes a lot of sense.
Cool. You know, the minute you told me this, literally the first thing I thought was, oh my God, please can he do the Christmas week and each day do it as an impression? Because obviously he is peerless for impressions. Tarrant on Monday, which he obviously played in Quiz.
Yeah.
Clarkson on Tuesday. Please can he do that? I really hope that he does that. It would be such fun.
Yes, it is. So they haven't started filming yet. So what's it going to be called? I lobbied for a long time that it should be called Michael Sheen's Richard Osman's House of Games, or Richard Osman's House of Games featuring Michael Sheen. But it's
a deal breaker.
Yeah, but they won't have it. So yeah, it will be Michael Sheen's House of Games, and his avatar will be on all of those prizes. People say, what's happening with all the old prizes? And we tend not to over-order with the prizes. So
unlike Megan's Jam, which we were talking about on Tuesday, you don't have 10 million surplus suitcases.
Yeah, we don't. I'm afraid there are very few left. But yeah, one of the things they're currently doing is producing prizes with his face on. So it will be called Michael Sheen's House of Games. I'm going to go up and do one final week. And do, funnily enough, in the same way that it's important to have Sarah Michelle Gellar in the Buffy reboot.
Yeah,
I think we all want everyone to know how delighted we are that Michael's doing it, and that everyone, there's a continuation. So we'll do he's not going to be a contestant with me or anything, but we'll do a little handover, kind of something or other, because I want to welcome him as well, because he's got the best team in telly there, and he'll have an absolute ball. So yeah, I'm going to do one final week, and then he's going to do 100 of them. So that will be the series that comes on in the autumn. And the other thing people say, would he go on? And I wouldn't straight away, is the truth. I think that's too meta, and also you have to let someone get their feet under the table. But one day I'd love to. That's a come and get me plea. But in a few years, like a Christmas week or something like that. I would, because I play along with that show all the time anyway. I never know the answers, so I do get to play a lot, but I'm never allowed to buzz in. So yeah, it'd be nice to watch it and buzz in.
I'd love to see you get that finger on that buzzer. Yes, that would be very fun.
People were so lovely when I left, and very very kind, and but then when he's announced, everyone's like, "Listen, Richard, we will still miss you. We will still miss you, but that's not bad." And you think, okay, that's nice. But I wish him such luck. It's I messaged him the other day. I said, it's such a fun show to do, and such a lovely gang. You'll have an absolute ball. And I think it's a great show for him, and he's a great host for it. That's wonderful. Michael Sheen's Richard Osman's House of Games. Here's a question. I think both of us will have a view on this. Nereus Fry.
What a great name.
I know, it's really good, isn't it? Nereus Fry, possibly. Yeah. Either way, it's great. She or he says, the manga One Piece celebrated 600 million copies being sold by having its author write down the identity of the One Piece, which is the series' mysterious MacGuffin, put in a chest, and then sent the chest to the bottom of the ocean. Can I get your top 3 favourite film and TV MacGuffins? Shall we start by explaining what MacGuffins are for people who don't know?
Yes. Now, this is a term coined by Hitchcock, and it's an object or a person or a secret that drives the plot because all the characters are motivated to pursue it in some way, but it's not actually that important to the overall narrative.
It was actually coined by one of his screenwriters, Angus MacPhail, who did Spellbound and did Whiskey Galore and stuff like that. Well, Hitchcock always said that. No one knows where the phrase comes from, other than it's sort of like a whatchamacallit, an Ujima thingy, like a MacGuffin. It's like a little bit of business.
He said it's the thing that the characters on screen worry about, but the audience doesn't care about. I always find this a really useful analogy for things in real life. When you think, we're not actually arguing about this. This is about something completely different. This is just a sort of plot device. But George Lucas later changed it, and he said, I think it's as important to the audience as to the characters. But I think that's very much a kind of filmmaker he is. But
absolutely, classical versions would be the Golden Fleece, the Holy Grail, just the thing that starts the quest. And actually, you sort of forget about what that might be. And it's actually when you really start, because I saw this question, I've been thinking quite hard about it. And it's quite hard sometimes to go, no, hold on, is that a MacGuffin? Because I think that... Yes, well, the Lucas definition is different, as you can see. And, some people will say that the One Ring in Lord of the Rings or something... But the Maltese Falcon would be a very good example. So the Maltese Falcon... I was going to say, I'm not going to put it on my... I'll put it. I love it. If we're both doing top 3s, it's going to be impossible. We just got to talk around this. So the Maltese Falcon is something that's sent by the Knights Templar of Malta to the King of Spain. Pirates steal it. Everyone wants it back, and one of the greatest films ever is written. But the thing itself is it's sort of meaningless. It's just the prompt for the action.
That's a really classic one. I have to say that another film which is kind of, lots of these films, people don't watch them so much, but Spanish Prisoner, David Mamet's Spanish Prisoner is so good. And if you haven't ever seen it, watch it because you'll absolutely love it. It's got something called The Process in that, which is they're all trying to get their hands on The Process. I wouldn't put those in my top 3. I would say 3, Rosebud, The Dying Word in Citizen Kane, which ends up being the framing device. That is deliberately something that they just thought, we have to find a framing device for this. So whatever. Number 2, I would put The Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost. These are all from films, by the way, I watch on repeat. So
the Ark, I think, is okay because it is something. Whereas the Holy Grail, no one quite knows what the Holy Grail is.
Yes, I agree. But the Ark is sort of, and it's difficult. I won't turn this over and over in my mind because it is kind of like, okay, it's really, really important, but also we don't really know no one particularly knows who it is, what it is. It's not like, the Turin Shroud or something that's even more obvious. And also the ability to, to put it into that great warehouse in that amazing iconic shot right at the end where it's like, obviously it doesn't really, but equally you're thinking in that warehouse, my God, what else is in there? So it does seem like it's important.
Before we get to number 1, are you aware of the concept of plot coupons? Yeah, which is a sci-fi writer called Nick Lowe came up with it, and it's a version of a MacGuffin, but that is split into lots. So the Horcrux is it's a series of plot coupons. You have to collect all of them, and when you add them together, they become a MacGuffin. The
Infinity Stones and all of this sort of stuff. Yes, I agree. But number 1, as I say, I've just chosen them from movies I've watched on repeat, is the rug, the dude's rug in The Big Lebowski, which is genuinely an object of no value, except it really tied the room together.
Yes.
I end up using that line a huge amount just in normal life. It really tied the room together. They work so well, particularly in noir MacGuffins, because they've got to make all these people, and obviously the Maltese Falcon is a real example of that.
What are we all chasing after?
Yeah, what are we all chasing after?
Sort of forget
comedy noir, The Big Lebowski, one of my favourite movies of all time. So the dude's rug in The Big Lebowski, I'm going to put it number 1. Okay. How about you?
Well, I'll just mention a couple of Hitchcock ones because he did popularise the term. So the military secrets in the 39 Steps. We never know what they are. We forget. It sort of doesn't matter because we're watching a different movie. Equally, if you think about Psycho, you say, okay, what's Psycho about? Nobody says it's about the fact that Marion Crane steals $40,000. And that's the MacGuffin of that movie. Yeah. And even at the end of that movie, it's sort of, it's buried in a bog and they go, I suppose we could dig it up. But it's by then, it doesn't matter because we watched this extraordinary film that was about something else entirely. But the MacGuffin there is $40,000. I say, is it my number 1? The one that is the most obviously a MacGuffin and made by a filmmaker who knows his film history is the suitcase in Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Where all the way through, they open the suitcase and it's glowing gold, but you never know what it is. You never know what's in it. But the entirety of that film, despite how well it's put together and the kind of the way that it's told, is based around that one suitcase, which we have no idea at any point what it is. So that I'm going to put as my number 1. When I'm writing, I love a MacGuffin. I was trying to think about, when I was trying to define what a MacGuffin is, it is quite hard because it sort of is something that we don't care about or has no intrinsic worth, but at the same time the characters do. It's a MacGuffin when you see one. And in The Last Devil to Die, which is the 4th Thursday Murder Club book, I have a box full of heroin, which is an absolute 100% classic MacGuffin that I was very, very proud of for reasons that people who've read that book will know. But it's, screenwriters, writers love a MacGuffin, just this thing that everyone goes, I must have that. Yeah, I must have that thing. It's like characters that are off stage that we never meet. There's all these. Those are kind of character MacGuffins. Some people say that Private Ryan and Saving Private Ryan would count as a MacGuffin. I don't know so much.
It's disrespectful.
I read something saying that Kaiser Soze is a MacGuffin. I don't agree with that.
No, that's not. That's a misunderstanding of it. That's something completely different.
This is just one for people at home, so I was thinking about it. The Lavender Hill Mob. Oh. The Golden Eiffel Towers. Yeah. Are they a MacGuffin? In the end, I decided they weren't a MacGuffin.
No, I think I would go with.
Maybe the gold when it's gold is a MacGuffin.
Go and watch some of these if you haven't seen them, because all of these are such great. There's lots of. There's a few obscure, more have become more obscure movies now. Yeah, but watch them because they're all brilliant.
Thank you so much for that question. And also, if you have not come across the term MacGuffin before. It's a really lovely term.
Speaking of movies that probably have MacGuffins in but have a load of other stuff, we are doing a special, a bonus for our members about mockbusters.
Which is this huge sort of sub-industry. You used to call them B-movies of films that directly copy big blockbuster films. And
homage, Richard, homage.
Homages and a pretty big business. There's some amazing stories in it. So restlesentertainment.com if you want to sign up for that after you're listening. All of that malarkey. Thank you for your questions. That was fun. I feel like we got through a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.